All right. Welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Audi, and I am your host, Audi. I'm not going to even waste your time. This 2021 monologue is all about how I purchased this iPhone 13 Pro Max without paying anything out of pocket. So technically, I got it for free. So with this year's monologue, you are going to go on a journey on how I managed to do this. So therefore, I think this is the best time for you to take out some pen and paper, for you to actually write down some stuff, and get some valuable insight in terms of what I did in order for this thing to become a reality. Let's go on this journey and we will see how this came to be. This is one of the biggest audience I ever had. Oh my gosh, it's like people are walking around. I don't even know what to do with myself. But we are here for the monologue and we are just going to go into it. Now, with investing, I've been talking a lot about it. So this is going to be pretty much in terms of how I use my investments and the returns in order for me to make this purchase, even though it wasn't something that was needed. So there's always been this debate versus Android versus iOS. Which one is better? Personally, for me, I've been an Android user most of my life. This is going to be my first time trying iOS, which is going to be something I'm going to reveal in terms of how it's going for me coming from using an Android system. So it all started off with, of course, AMC when I bought those shares back in 2020. And when January came, it blew up to about $19. So I used the money that I actually sold those shares AMC back in January for me to start a portfolio of purchasing different stocks that's going to help me in terms of dividend payment as well as capital gains for me to make this purchase. I purchased shares in Apple as well as this company, ticker symbol which is CQP, and started a small portfolio to assist with this major purchase that was this iPhone. And once I was started, then we hit it up to February, and then something huge happened in the month of February. So in February, when I first started investing in the stock market, I figured that if I could potentially make $10 a month, that would be a monumental thing for me. But then when I saw my dividend payment after making this investment, I saw that I had a surplus of more than $50 in terms of dividend payment for the month of February. And I was like, wow, this is ridiculous. And at that moment, I figured that if I could figure out how to do this thing, then maybe the money that I invest into these companies, the dividends alone, will be able to pay for my new iPhone by the end of the year. And so I went on the journey trying to figure out how to do this for the next few months. And then in March, something happened from an unexpected source where I never thought it would happen that led to the biggest investment for the year of 2021. Now, when I said that my next investment came out of an unlikely source. Now, you guys, if you follow me on social media, you know I always post in regards to books I've read. This is one of those books that I've read, and this is one of the holy grails that everybody tells you to read if you plan on investing. But I didn't do this before I started because, I like to do things my way and then eventually figure it out. But that investment did not come out of this book, so I'm just going to toss this aside. It came out of a book that I picked up and I got for my birthday. I was reading this book, and within that book, I found about this company called iCan't Enterprises and how their approach is in terms of investing. And I was like, okay, I need to find out about this company. So I went ahead and I looked up the company in terms of their basics for what they did. And then I went over and saw that they paid a dividend. And when I saw how much they paid in dividend, it completely blew my mind. I saw that on a quarterly basis, which is every 3 months, they pay $2 a share. And I was like, bruh, what kind of crack these dudes on? This was my gateway in terms of saying, okay, well, if I can manage to purchase some of these shares, then maybe I can speed up this process in terms of me earning dividends on a quarterly or monthly basis in order for me to meet this goal at the end of the year. At the time, I saw that the price was about $60 plus, and I was like, okay, well, I know I don't have the money for me to afford this share, but what can I do in terms of my portfolio so I can purchase these shares for me to get these dividends? And, in terms of, making sure that you have those roots, and before the time comes, in 2020, I had purchased this company called Cassava Science, ticker symbol SAVA. I purchased about 150 shares for...
You can sit at the cafe, plenty of tables.
Okay. Now, I had purchased 150 shares of Cassava Sciences. The price in March was somewhere between $10 to $14. And I decided to take some of those shares and be like, okay, well, I'm going to sell it. And then I'm going to see if I'm going to put this money aside for me to actually see if I like this company enough for me to purchase shares so that I can actually get paid more dividends. I sold a few of those shares in Cassava Sciences, and I had the money aside for me to make this purchase. But however, the price that IEP was at, I was like, I don't know if I want to spend my money on this company at this price, so I'm going to wait a little bit longer to see if the price can drop within a range that I'm comfortable to buy this company. So I had the cash on hand, and I sit it, and I waited. And then the opportunity presented itself in April. But before I actually made this purchase, something else happened in the month of April that actually led to me making this decision whether or not I wanted to buy IEP. So we're a quarter way through the year, and I would just like to take a moment to thank my sponsors for making this video happen. First of all, I thank the stock market for actually, making this even possible for me to actually have a monologue talking about the stock market. And then most importantly, to you guys who continue to come here and watch these videos every week. Whenever I do post them, because without y'all, it's like, what would be the purpose in terms of doing it? Even though there's motivation and inspiration behind myself, but if I create something and nobody watch it, then it's pretty much useless. So thank you all for actually coming in and continue to watch these videos, because you guys are the MVP. Now let's continue with the monologue of 2021. So on my Pixel 2 Android phone, the camera on my phone had stopped working. Literally, this is all I've been seeing for the past year. Blank screen, nothing can be done, and that is it. So when this happened, it pretty much, twisted my arm in terms of what I needed to do. So now I needed a phone in order for me to engage on social media as well as creating videos for the channel. So I needed a phone. It was no longer a want, it was a need. Clearly, I put this need in my life. But now I took the money that I sold those shares in Saba for, and I went ahead and I bought 4 shares of IEP to start that holding in terms of that company within my portfolio. But now I know that it was possible that I could get this phone fixed, but the thing is that I don't have another phone for me to replace it with in order during the time for me to get the camera fixed. And when I went to the store and actually tried to do it, it was like, oh, you're gonna have to order parts and all that. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to use this phone just for texting and playing on social media and playing games. Now I had a drive, I had a motivation, I had an inspiration for me to actually make this happen, on top of all those other stuff that we initially started off in terms of investing in the stock market. Now, we are in the beautiful month of May. And in May, if I thought that Sava did well, going up to between $10 to $15 in April, in May, Sava went all the way up to the range of $45 to $90. And at that moment, I decided to sell a majority of my holding in order for me to actually go ahead and subsidize this portfolio I was building. And I continued to buy shares in CQP, Apple, as well as IEP. The question would remain, Audi, if you knew that you needed this phone, why not use the money you sold those shares in Sava and purchase the phone straight up? Now, the thing is that that's easily done. We do this every single day in terms of our jobs. We work and we get money, and then we use that money for us to buy the things that we want. However, if I could put this money into a vehicle that actually continues to subsidize me in terms of payment over time, then this money that was invested into these companies would kind of keep that money working for me over time, instead of me just selling those shares and then using that money for me to buy the phone, which would be a one-time payment for me, and then I would stop the entire engagement with what I wanted. But however, putting the money into a vehicle that will continue to provide some form of income was better than actually making a one-time payment, and who knows what else. And so that's the reason why I didn't necessarily buy it up front. And I know it sounds difficult in terms of delaying this gratification for me to get this particular item, but that's the beauty of this game that I started to play, is that I started to see how my delayed gratification would pay off in the long run instead of actually making those one-time payments. And in June, you wouldn't even believe, it's like it came all full circle all over again with those investments I made in 2020, as well as, of course, in June. If you have been following the market, we all know what happened in June with one of the companies I've already mentioned in this particular monologue. The craziness that transpired with AMC was nothing what I ever imagined when I purchased those shares in 2020. It went from about $10 to somewhere within $20, then $35, and peaking in the month of June at slightly over $70 a share. I think you guys know what the theme has been already, and if you forgot, I sold some of those shares, and I used that money for me to buy shares into the companies such as IEP, CQP, the Apples, the MFAs, the PSECs, and the ones that you guys are familiar with, as well as starting to look into different companies that I can open positions into. The return that I got in that one company alone was monumental. And seeing that AMC started this entire process, it continued to fuel the growth that I needed in order for me to continue buying dividend-paying stocks that would help me meet this goal. And then once we get into July, boy, if I thought that AMC was good, wait until you see what one of our companies that we mentioned already did for us in the month of July. And it's going to be crazy. In the month of July, I was in the Bahamas enjoying myself. But the thing is that AMC started to come down from its high in June. However, my entire portfolio was taking a beating, but I'm enjoying myself in the Bahamas, so there's not much I could do in regards to what is happening in the stock market. I just can make trades based on what I can do. But the thing is that on the day when I was about to leave the Bahamas, my shares in Saba went from about $70 per share, and they started to climb all the way up to $130. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is it. Your boy able to cash in. But the thing is that here I am in the airport trying to sell some of these shares, but the orders are not being executed because guess what? I'm in the Bahamas, and sometimes you have Wi-Fi problems. However, I'm like, okay, well, maybe by the time as I get to the US, I can actually go ahead and execute and make some of this money. Go into the airplane is stuck in the runway because there's too much flight and also a weather delay. So I'm like, okay, well, this cannot be happening to me at this moment, but it is happening to me, clearly, because I'm in denial. So we get into the US about 3 o'clock, right before the market closed. I checked the price when we land into the US, and the price is all the way back down to $80. I'm like, how did this happen going from 130 all the way down here? But the thing is that I saw online that due to some investigation that was going behind the results based on the drug that Saba is working on, it's an Alzheimer's drug. Some person was investigating what the research said. So because of that, people were fearful in terms of what could potentially come out of this, so they started selling. Unfortunately, your boy couldn't sell because clearly, I was enjoying myself too much in the Bahamas, and the Bahamas decided, to enjoy me as well. So hey, I guess it's a win-win situation for everybody except me. But the thing is that there wasn't much I could do. I wanted to kick myself, but what could I do if I don't have the internet connection for me to get things done? But I did sell some shares and I actually did land, and I managed to use that money for me to continue buying into other companies that would also help me in terms of dividend payment. And by that time, at the end of July, even though my stock portfolio was taking a beating in terms of value, my dividends crossed the mark of $100 in that given month. And I was like, okay, we're making it somewhere. We're seeing something, even though my portfolio is taking a beating. However, I am starting to kind of get some consistent income from what the dividends are from those companies I invested in. And so I bought into other more stable companies as well, like the Coca-Colas, the Pepsis, the Microsofts. Started buying more of ETFs as well, because this is when I actually did the video on YouTube in terms of the $100 portfolio. So you guys can actually go ahead and check that out as well. So this is why I actually made that video, because now I saw that I was getting some returns from my stock portfolio in the regards of dividends. If y'all think the month of July was bad, wait until y'all hear what was happening in the month of August. August was ridiculous. My portfolio was down at least 10% during the month, and I was like, is my mental health really worth this idea of this iPhone at the end of the year? I decided to hold steadfast onto the belief that maybe I could weather this storm. And by mid-August, my patience and my stubbornness paid off, and my portfolio turned around, and it was up at least 5%. So now I felt good about this idea of this dividend coming in, as well as the iPhone by the end of the year. So August was a lot of mess, but at the end of the month, we looked good, and we also continued to get at least the average of a plus $100 for dividend payment by the end of August. And then, boy, we all know what happened in September, but I'm just going to give you guys a prelude. You know that Apple Day is in September, so now I get to see the iPhones and think about which one of them what I would like to get by the end of the year. So let's just jump into September and let's talk about Apple Day. So for the Apple event, I've been watching it for the past 3 years, but this year I couldn't wait to see what were the colors on the new iPhones that they are going to reveal this year. And when I saw that Sierra Blue, I was like, okay, well, that's the one I'm going to get. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Seeing that I'm an Android user, our mentality is that if I can find something that get the job done, why do I need to overpay for the product? This is something I had to go ahead and adjust to in terms of now wanting the iPhone, because now I sure I could have found something cheaper on the market. But the thing is that as excited as I was in regards to what was happening in terms of Apple Day, in the markets, the excitement cannot last too long. So in September as well, the Evergrande situation happened where my portfolio lost at least 15%. And I was like, okay, I am done with this. I'm going to sell out. I texted one of my friends. I told him what the situation was in terms of the portfolio, because him and I work hand in hand with the portfolio. And he said, Audi, listen to me. Stop looking at your portfolio. Don't listen to the news and just relax. Go smoke a beanie. I don't smoke, by the way. And just relax. And I was like, oh, I don't think it's going to help. He said, you clearly like mental torture if you want to keep looking at this particular thing. You cannot control the outcome of what is happening and the news that happen in terms of the market. I was like, you're right. So I stopped looking at it and I relaxed. But the thing is that whilst I took a step away from my portfolio as well as the news, you know your boy still continue getting paid in terms of dividends that I have already had implemented from the beginning of the year. So I still got paid dividends in September, even though my portfolio took a beating, the worst beating that it took for 2021. But at the end of September, we started to see a turnaround, but still it was in the red, but yet it was better than in terms of if I had made that rash decision and sell out and then completely cut the ties with what I was trying to do by the end of the year. But in the month of October, we started to see some positivity in the portfolio, and unsuspected return happened in one stock that I bought in 2020. And we are going to go over to October and see what was that stock that made such an impact to help push my portfolio to where it needed to be in order for me to afford the iPhone by the end of the year. The portfolio had a very slight turnaround, all due to this one company. I purchased about 300 shares in 2020 for about $1.50, and they paid about a penny of dividends every 6 months. Now, I didn't go into that company for the dividends. I went because of the potential for it to blow up, because it was a hedge for me against inflation, and it was in oil and gas. So with all the talk around inflation in October and gas prices going to summa cum laude prices, this stock went from about $5 I was trading early in 2021 to about $25. So you know what I did, right? I think you guys already know what the story is here. So yes, I did exactly that. I sold some of those shares. I purchased shares in those other companies that have been building my dividend portfolio, as well as I used some of the money to fund a trip to Mexico. That wasn't the smartest idea that I had in 2021. However, I needed the vacation, so I went to Mexico for the weekend on the shares that I sold in SM. So you know, I dipped into the cookie jar before, you know, I could actually get the full cookie benefit at the end of the year. Sometimes you just have to go ahead and take some time off. And seeing that I was taking some time away from the stock market, this was the best thing I could have done for my mental health, as well as some relaxation for me to regroup from all that was happening over the year, even though there were some positives, but there were a lot of negatives that my mental health needed to break from. So this is what the beauty of sometimes putting in those seeds early you can benefit from in regards to some things that have higher upsides and downside. Because when I purchased most of these companies, the most I could have lose was the amount I invested in it, which is what I was comfortable in losing. But then the upsides of what you have seen so far in most of these companies that I talked about has been beyond anything that I could have imagined. And with that said, moving into November, oh gosh, we know it's time for Black Friday shopping. And on Black Friday, you thought I knew what was going to happen, but it did not necessarily happen. So let's just get ready and let's slide into the month of November. And good Bobo Snooty Boy. Oh, sick. In November, I took all the dividends I accumulated for the year, as well as I was planning on selling shares in some of those companies on Black Friday in order for me to purchase the exact phone that I wanted. However, on Black Friday, we got news of the Omicron variant, so you all know everything took a dip on that particular day. So yes, my portfolio took a dip on Black Friday. So now I had the money in hand for me to purchase a phone. So I went to the Apple store on Black Friday to purchase the phone. I got into the store, looked at the price, and I was like, bro, this makes no sense, because I could do so much more with this money. Now, if you know me, you all know I don't like the frivolous spending. And this is one of those things I did not want to do. But then there was also a product that I felt as though I needed as well. But being me, I got up and I left the store. But then I was reminded that, you know, Audi, sometimes you have to treat yourself to some of the things that you want, even though it may not be a need, but you work hard enough that you have to treat yourself sometimes. And so I thought about it. I said, you know, you're right. I went back to the Apple store, went to speak to one of the representatives, and put my name in the queue in order for me to get the phone that I wanted. I told him the specs and which I wanted, and then he looked on this list like, oh, we're sold out. I was like, oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding. Clearly, they all don't want me to buy this phone. So I left the store, I went home, I said, okay, well, maybe I'll buy it online. And did not buy it on Black Friday because, you know, especially seeing that I don't like to spend money on things that don't make sense, I definitely felt as though this was a sign not for me to buy the phone. But then after a while, it came to December where I finally made the decision of which one and which size I was going to purchase on that given day. So yes, in December, you guys finally get to find out all the details on this iPhone, even though you know which iPhone I actually purchased. So let's roll the clip and let's get to December. So now it was time for me to actually go ahead and put in this order. Still thinking that, you know, I could do so much more with this money than buy an iPhone that could potentially benefit me in the long run. But seeing that I did all of this work already, I was like, okay, well, we got to go do it. So I went online on the Apple Store, put in for a 256 gigabyte Sierra Blue, and then the order was submitted, and I will receive my phone in mid-December. Phone got there, and I was like, "Wang!" iPhone 13 Pro Max. I was so excited to get this, finally becoming an iOS user, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like, this is what everybody's talking about. It's so sleek and so friendly, but you know, once again, it's just a phone. But the thing is that throughout this entire process, I learned some few things. I hope you guys have learned them in regards to the monologue that I've done for 2021. Now that I had these things in place, even when the new iPhone come out this year, I will still be able to purchase it if I wanted it. So that's the thing, is that the first lesson I learned is that know the difference between earning and making money. And earning money, you work on a job in order for you to actually get a paycheck that you use to purchase the thing that you need and you want. However, making money is when you purchase something that actually works for you and your money is working for you to make more money. So it becomes a money printer without you necessarily needing to be active in this process anymore. The second thing, there is never a perfect time for you to start anything. And the thing is that when you think that it's too much for you to start now, when the time has passed and you look at another time, it's going to seem as though that time is not the perfect time to start. And maybe the time that you thought was not the perfect time to start was the perfect time to start. So there's always going to be some uncertainty and doubt, no matter what it is that you do. But however, make sure that you start. Number 3, the process is where the fun and learning happens. So the thing is that after you achieve the goal, which in this case was for me to actually get the iPhone, after playing with the phone for about 2 or 3 days, I was like, oh, it's just another phone. The process was what kept me excited, and even now they have this process in place. Like I mentioned, if I want another phone, I can actually get it. Number 4, the upside is always better than the downside. The thing is that if I invest $100 into a company's stock, my downside is that I can lose this $100 and be wiped out. But the upside, I don't know what the upside is going to be. I could double it, I could triple it, I could quadruple it, or maybe a 10% increase. So know that sometimes upside can work in your favor, and just be aware of how much downside you are willing to take, and just go ahead and manage your risk at the end of the day for trying to achieve those particular upside. Number 5, time is going to pass, so you might as well use it to your advantage. So there are some things that benefit from the time, and compound interest is one of those things that actually uses time to benefit you in the long run. Use the time that's passing to your advantage and don't waste it. You only get the 24 hours in a day, so whatever it is that you want to get done, everybody has to get it done within those 24 hours, so you might as well use the time so that it can put you in a place for you to benefit from it once you get to a particular point. And the final thing that I would say I picked up in 2021 is that understand the rules of the game that you are playing. If you don't know the rules, you don't know how to win. But the thing is that with life, it's an infinite game, and there are no fixed definition of what success looks like. For whatever your success or definition is, it's going to be different from mine. So don't compare your success to someone else's success, because you two are never going to agree on a definition of what success is. There are certain things that people look at that can define success. However, it is not universal to everybody. So understand the game, know the rules, have fun. So that brings us to the end of 2021 monologue. And so I hope you all have enjoyed this review of my 2021. I had a lot of fun visiting a lot of different places to record this video so that you guys can enjoy and be entertained by this process that I've actually went through in 2021. So with that said, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with anybody who you think would benefit from this or looking at potentially starting something and they are too afraid to start it because of the potential risk that they think that is going to be too much for them. So peace, love, enjoyment. Deuces, I'm Audi. Until the next one, welcome to 2022. Take care of yourself and let's make 22 another year for us to remember, and let's see what else we can actually get done by the time as this year comes to an end. So let's go. Challenge accepted. Time for us to get some things done. And with that said, see you guys on the next episode. Swoosh.